More than 25 million views, 314,000 subscribers, and over 140 videos since 2017. Krystal Lora is one of the best tech YouTubers around, one of my favourites and a huge inspiration for me.
Hey guys, it's Krystal. Hey guys, it's Krystal. Hey guys, it's Krystal. Hey guys, it's Krystal.
Over the years, Krystal has worked with some of the biggest brands around, including LG and Samsung, and is probably most well known for camera comparisons and Apple product reviews. Her videos are incredibly well produced with beautiful B-roll and tons of value, and I had the absolute pleasure of being able to sit down with Krystal and talk about her YouTube journey so far.
I said I wouldn't thank God, but I have to for a second.
We dig into how Krystal found her niche, what her initial learning curve was like, and just how she managed to land her amazing sponsorships. We start by finding out why Krystal got into YouTube in the first place and how a lack of female representation in tech affected her decision.
Yeah, I guess I always way back to the very beginning, not the beginning, but when I started watching and just seeing YouTube videos, I was like, oh, I kind of want to do that, but I didn't know what exactly. So I was just diving into a lot of little things here and there. In the very, very beginning, on a whole separate other channel, I was doing I guess skits or parodies of things back then. Hopefully nobody has ever seen those videos, but yeah, it was a very different realm that I was going for at first. And tech has always been in my hobbies and stuff, and I just kind of dived into that. I know there's definitely not, or at the time wasn't enough female representation in tech, and I was just oh, I want to, girl power, we need more voices, so that kind of just led the way into it.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because you don't see that many people doing, women doing tech videos. Even if there are women doing YouTube, it's not the same sphere. And as someone who has also grown up loving tech, to watch you guys, you, Tech Me Out, those kind of people, it's damn, it is possible. And you made me think, and I obviously failed, but you made me think, hey, I could do this if I wanted to. And that's just such an awesome thing. So thank you for that. But to also go out there when that isn't around, were you scared because of that, or was that actually more motivation to do it?
It was a little bit of both, I guess. I was not so much, I didn't I should have put more thought into I think if I did think about it too much, I probably would have been I don't know if I could do this, and just more, I guess, intimidated by it all. But if anything, it was definitely more motivating to do that because of that. And just going back to starting out, yeah, it was cool to see whenever there was another girl. I was oh, yeah, there's more of us. But it really, yeah, like you said, it was very limited space. Now, definitely more so, there's a lot more amazing ladies in the space, but yeah.
So when you were doing it and going into it, were there other YouTubers that inspired you, female or male, just in that sphere, and whether they were tech or not tech?
Like I said, going back to those silly videos I used to do, Jenna Marbles was a big inspiration, just seeing what she did. So sad that she's not doing any more videos right now, but I loved watching hers. And I guess in the tech space, I think around the same time I did was watching Tech Me Out's videos, and Justine, of course, and there's a couple others here and there. But yeah, no, they're all so great. As far as male representation, I think Marquez was always one of those that I saw from the beginning. And yeah, there's a lot. There's a long list of the tech channels that I watched. So many good ones. Too many to count.
Okay, so having recently started my own channel and talking to a lot of people who are in a similar situation, one of the things that gets them is, oh, I don't know kind of what to make videos about. And again, I know you said you started with skits and stuff, but once you kind of figured out, hey, I want to make tech videos, what was that like for you? Was it yes, I finally found something and I'm just going to go absolutely ham on it. I know what I'm going to do and I'm going to, give it X amount of videos? Or were you almost questioning yourself when you were putting those out to say, was this the right idea? Was this the right approach?
I feel I struggled in the beginning a lot, just finding out. I don't know. It's funny that you mentioned this, looking back, because I was actually looking at a lot of my old unlisted videos from back in the day, and I was just what was I thinking? The way I'm speaking and talking, I was just very critical of myself, and it definitely took a bit to nail it. And even then I'm looking back and thinking, why did I ever release that? But no, I guess, yeah, that part was definitely hard. Actually, it was exactly yesterday I was looking at one of my first LG videos, because rest in peace, LG no more, they're not making mobile phones anymore. But yeah, looking back to that, I was like, wow, I was definitely not fully, like, personality-wise, I wasn't fully there yet. It was hard to, like, get that across in video. But I guess that's, like, with everything starting out, you know? It's always, like, that little, like, you learn things along the way. And you got to go through those little, like, struggles and hills first to get where you are. But
so what was it like to get, like, sponsorships and those kind of, like, oh, yeah, free stuff, I get to review all these cool things? What's that actually like to get your first product and especially someone like LG reaching out? What's that like for you?
it was definitely, like, one of the most exciting moments, is I fully remember that. Like, it was, like, mind-blowing to me that, like, they actually, like, sent out a phone. And at the time, it wasn't even for, like, a sponsorship or anything. It was just like, hey, like, sent you a phone, do a video if you want. And I was like, of course. I was so stoked.
It's like the tech YouTuber dream. It's like,
Yeah.
send me stuff. So how has that kind of evolved for you over time? Because obviously you do a bunch of things now, which is awesome. And going back to, like, a lot of people want to be tech YouTubers because, and I don't mean like, hey, free stuff, but it's you get to review those products, and especially in a niche like tech where the products are so expensive. I think that's something that holds a lot of people back. But people I've spoken to have said, actually, it's not actually that difficult to get started in tech. So that was a roundabout question to kind of say, how did you start with the whole reviewing thing, and how have either sponsorships or ads kind of progressed over the years since then?
Yeah, I guess it's definitely, like, gotten easier in that sense where, you know, it's always, like, hard to, like, starting out, just, like, to reach out. Like, I guess it's just, like, what you have to do is just, like, email a ton of emails and find your way through, and, like, friends help along the way. But that was definitely a difficult thing too, looking back, because there was a lot of, like, buying things and, like, not really being able to, like, afford it, but would buy it anyway just just to see. I think the first, like, device that, like, I purchased, like, just to review it on my own was, like, one of my first videos, I think it was the Galaxy S6. But yeah, that part was, like, I wish it was easier for, like, people starting out, because it is, like, daunting to just, like, throw all this money and not know if it's gonna, like, take off or anything.
But I've seen a couple of your videos where you go, like, on this massive shopping spree, which is great. What's that like? Because I want to do one of those videos.
I know, those are really fun at the time, but definitely not, like, the smartest thing, because I really would just, like, go all out. But I definitely miss that. I've always, like, thought about, like, I should bring those back, even though, you know, in the world that we're living now, it's a little harder to just go out and go shopping. But yeah, those are fun to do. My sister and I, like, really enjoy them, because I would end up a lot of the times just, like, keeping this stuff is, like, I don't know, like, it's a weird thing to, like, just go and, like, return, you know, so.
Well, not if you're Indian. That is what you do every week, right?
I mean, I did it. I had my fair share of, like, buying and returning in the beginning, for sure. My local Best Buy did not like me, but maybe we'll cut that out.
It's all good. Like, you have to make some sacrifices for the tube, right?
Exactly.
Speaking of your videos, are there any particular videos that you, like, are your favorites to do? Because obviously you do a lot of reviews, comparisons, but every so often you do, like, a what's in my tech, which I think are my favorites, because I'm always so intrigued, and I love bags and tech. So it's just like, oh, this is heaven. But are there any that you particularly like to either make or just, you know, put out into the world?
Yeah, no, I do love those. Like, I think the What's My Tech show gets to show, like, a little bit more of your, like, personal life, and just, like, even though I being, like, on YouTube and stuff, like, you share so much of your life and whatever, but I think it's a cool blend of, like, here's, like, some cool tech stuff, but here's also, like, what I don't know, I guess more personality driven videos, because, like, you kind of get a step away from that in reviews, which I do love doing my reviews, but I think that's actually been, like, one of the things I've been struggling, just finding my, like, what I truly love to do with tech videos. If you asked me, like, a year ago, I would have said, like, oh, I love doing my camera comparisons, and I kind of just, like, grew a little, like, tired of that, just because it's became so, like, saturated, and not only that, just, again, harder to film those type of videos now. But I do love those. I do love, like, when I kind of just, like set up videos, because I, again, like, get to step out a little bit and just, like, show more of me and my life. But, like, I did, like, a what's in my daily routine type of video not too long, well, like a year ago now. And I did, like, enjoy those type of videos where you get to see more of me in them, I guess.
One of the themes that a lot of people say is they like, well, it's kind of twofold, because people like putting their personality into the videos, which is harder, I think, when you're starting out, because obviously nobody knows you, and in a nice way, nobody actually cares, because they're there for like a comparison or a review or like a specific fact or something. But over time, you can start to bring your personality in, and actually that's what your audience then resonates with and is like, oh, we want to hear more about you and know more about you. So it kind of, I guess, happens over time, but it's cool that you can then bring that in, because then you can, I guess that makes it more fun for you to film as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think like it's a big part of like why I feel like people like come back to you, because they like grow attached to like the person that you are. So that's always been my like number one, like just wanting to be informative, but also like entertaining, I guess, in a way, I guess, like just I've always said I want to make people like smile through their day, even if like I'm like teaching somebody something out there. Is always my goal to just like, oh, like make a positive, like happy video here and there. So
that's lovely. You absolutely do that, because I know I come away from your videos going, that was awesome. Oh, so you do. And speaking of your videos, they are top quality, right? And I've always associated with you with top quality. So if you're about to tell me that they weren't always, like they have been to me. So so like not only like, okay, firstly, your B-roll is insane. Like it also looks like every angle that you film in is just like set up to perfection. I'm like, how do you have so many good angles?
Too sweet. Too sweet.
Yeah, and then the way it's filmed is just basically what I'm saying is it's very inspirational to watch, but it's also top quality. What was your learning process for that? Because again, as a complete noob, it's like, oh, this is so scary. There's so many different things to learn, but you kind of, again, looking from the outside, it looks like you've hit the ground running. But what was that like really like?
Well, like I said, looking back to those old videos, if I show you one of them, I'm like, what was I thinking? But I guess it was just like the learning process. So like along the years, just trying like different gear, and I like, you know, because being in tech, you always want to have like the coolest and latest gear, but it really is like unnecessary, because there's just so much like great that you get out of like the simplest, like just like your phone these days. So I realized that like definitely like learning to like work with what you have, but also just like trying out like a lot of different cameras. Like I know like over the years, like I went from Panasonic, I think like I'm sticking with Sony, but also like trying out different things. So I think it's a lot of like, yeah, just giving it, like just going for it and just trying something out and seeing what works.
Was there anything when you started that you didn't like know how to do, or did you have experience with each of the process? So like, again, I keep coming back to me, but when I started, like I didn't have a clue how to edit, for example. What was that like for you, and how much experience did you bring to your journey anyway?
I definitely didn't have much either. I had like definitely like a lot of help with that, and just like it was definitely like a learning process for me, for sure, from the beginning to now. But I guess like it just becomes like the more and more you do it, I don't know, it just becomes like second nature after a while. But it was like a lot of like big learning process for me, for sure.
Do you find it was more difficult being in the tech niche though? Because I think, again, looking in, it seems like there's a higher expectation, A, on quality, and B, on gear. And where a lot of people say, just start, like with YouTube, the gear doesn't matter. In a niche like tech, how much does it really matter? Because it looks like it does.
It's sad that like I know like tech videos are like associated with like you gotta have like the best quality, this and that, and like back then it's like, oh, if you didn't shoot 4K, like, but no, I think you can make, I just would hope to see more of like people like working with what they have, because I know it's like still lean towards that road of just like quality. I mean, I guess it like matters a little, I want to say. Like I know like me myself, like I feel like it makes me happy to make like, or to like strive towards like what I envision in my head with like quality or whatever. But I don't know, it's like a tough one to answer, because like it matters, but it doesn't, because if you make good videos, you don't need much, you know?
You want to strive for quality yourself. That's kind of you, right? You have your own
like,
level.
Exactly. Like I enjoy like using like whatever the cameras I do, but I think there's like definitely have to find like a balance, because like you can have like the prettiest looking video, and if it's just like not hitting, it's not entertaining. So definitely had my fair share of like just like learning that along the way, because there's been videos like, oh, like it looks great, but I'm just like not into it, and like I hate it, absolutely hate it, never want to see it again. So it's definitely a balance of the two.
How do you feel when you have, okay, so when a new product comes out, I guess every tech YouTuber jumps on that product, right? So a new iPhone or a new camera or whatever. What's going through your head, or how do you kind of approach those videos when you know there's going to be like hundreds of other people doing their thing? Do you take into account, oh, I need to be the first, I need to be the best, or is it just, hey, I'm in my zone, oh, there's a product, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm cool with it? Because again, that seems like a very pressured environment to either be normally to be the first, but...
Yeah, I like, definitely that was another thing that like, I've had such a different approach like along the years. I would say like in the beginning of it, I was like always wanting to be like, you would go for being the first. And I've learned like, I've tried things like different things here and there. Like whenever there's like a new like whatever iPhone launch or something, I've tried like uploading like, okay, I'm going to like space my video out, like maybe go up like later in the day, just to like give that like little buffer room, because there's just all these videos going out at one time. But yeah, I've kind of like let go of that like whole trying to be first, because it is part of like the game. Sometimes it's good to like, it helps, especially when you're starting out, it helps to like be one of those first videos that are pushed out so that you don't like get lost in the noise. But like for me, I feel happiest just like working on like, or putting time into like what I'm working on, and then when I'm happy with it, like releasing it instead of like struggling to be first. So I'm still also learning that balance myself too, but I personally don't think it's like super important if you have like a great video, just like to go up a little later after the crew goes in.
It sounds like a much healthier approach, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
So the other thing, I guess, is repurposing, or like being on different platforms is not like having all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. And I know that you're active on Instagram and things. How much of a role does Twitter, Instagram, other social media platforms play on your YouTube channel, or is it something you just do because you enjoy it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I just happen to like, I really enjoy Instagram. I do have to be better at Twitter because I'm like kind of awful on there. I'll like go like every couple days sometimes. But I think it is important to branch out, 'cause I mean, people always say like, oh, like you never know, like one day YouTube can just like go crashing down. It's good to just have yourself like out there, if that's like, you know, social media, whatever is your thing, like just to like branch out wherever. I've done an awful job at that in some places. Like I only have like one TikTok up. I know people like are way into TikTok now, but I guess it's also just like a balance of like what makes you happy. And like I do like Instagram here and there. I try to take a more of like a loose approach and not as like structured as my YouTube videos, and just like, oh, just like post here and there. But yeah, I think I stick to those two, and I kind of just like, I've been like really reevaluating like everything lately, just like, oh, I just like want to do stuff that like makes me happy. And I think that's the reason that I haven't been as active as I've wanted to these like past few months, just like trying to find out like, okay, like what is it that like I really enjoy doing, because it's gotten a little stale, to be honest, like across the board. So
because people say like, you know, YouTube might not be around forever. It's clearly not, well, nobody knows, but it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere soon. But still, to have that kind of stretch of audience across multiple platforms is good. But I think what could happen is people could go, oh, I need to be on every platform. And then suddenly they're stretching themselves really thin. They're not focusing. And instead of having like top quality on YouTube and another social platform like Instagram and just doing two really well, it's a case of, oh, I have to be on everything, and you're not doing it so well. And then to your point, you're just not happy. Like your quality is suffering, and then you're all over the place. Whereas actually your approach, and it's awesome that you're reevaluating it and coming back to, hey, what actually makes me happy is YouTube is kind of my bread and butter, and I actually enjoy Instagram, so I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to do a TikTok account for the sake of it, I guess. So that's really awesome.
Oh, thank you. I've been like learning that too, because I definitely feel like everybody puts a lot of pressure on themselves to like create. And as much as like I definitely want to be doing more than I currently am, like my upload schedule's a little wacky right now. It's not to where I want it to be, but yeah, it's just like I feel like 2020 kind of like put us into like that whole like life lessons, learning things along the way, and just like take it chill, take it easy, because we're all good, we'll be good. As long as we're like healthy and safe, like that, all that stuff comes along the way. So just kind of been like taking my road to get there.
2020 sure taught us some lessons.
Oh, it sure did.
Oh man. So, God. So you're kind of linked. Your work schedule. I'm a nerd. I love a workflow. What does your workflow look like? Like, how long do you spend on a video? Like, have you ever considered like putting a bunch out, or have you kind of found like the right, hey, I'm good with, you know, whatever my schedule is, and it takes me X amount of time, I'm happy with it, and kind of the things that go into that?
Again, like just like figuring things out still with that, but I feel like right now, like my goal is like one a week, or try for one a week, one every week and a half or so. But it definitely takes me a little longer due to like some limitations with like, again, like the pandemic. Like my workflow kind of did shift a bit, so like doing a lot of things from home. I would say like a video, depends on the video obviously, but I think like I would dedicate a good like 2 to 3 days of just like straight work, and like that includes like editing all that. But yeah, it kind of varies. Like sometimes it'll take a little longer, especially if there's like obviously things where like there's like a sponsor in the video, like things have to get approved or whatever, so that'll stretch out the time a little bit. And I'm always like, when I'm definitely not like the quickest like at editing. Like I'll take my time for sure. I'll like go back and forth and definitely try to be like too much of a perfectionist with things, which is another thing that like I'm learning to let go of a little bit, because it definitely hinders the creation timeline. But it varies, but like I would say like a good solid 2 to 3 days.
Okay. And is there a particular part of the workflow that you enjoy the most, that you like look forward to?
I think it's like the editing for me. Like I always say, like I take my time, but I do enjoy like seeing it come together. Shooting is fun and all, but I'm not the greatest at talking, to be honest. Like, I stutter a lot. I mess up way too much. Sometimes I'll have like talking heads that are like, can be like hours long if I'm struggling that day. So that's not my strong suit for sure. But like the editing part, like I love seeing like starting with something that like maybe I didn't have in my mind, and just like it turns into something else.
How much do you plan in advance of your video to say, this is kind of the end product I want it to look like, versus how much do you almost do on the fly in the editing process?
I definitely do too much on the fly. I think it would do me better to like plan it out a little more, but sometimes it's just like as I go along with it. Even though the last 2 videos I've been like pre-planning a little more, and that's helped tremendously with the talking time. Just taking notes helps a lot. Like that's something as simple as that really does. Like I'm not really too into, I used to like script things out, and like I'm not too into that, just because I feel like it, again, like I lose like that like personality side of me too much, and I start to like think too much about the like words that are written down instead of like what I want to say. So note taking and like writing things out is one of the like biggest things. But that's pretty much it. Like I don't, other than that, like if I have to do my research, I'll do my research, but I think it's like notes is a big thing.
How much attention do you pay to the analytics and, you know, the wonderful YouTube algorithm? Like how, are there things that you're like, okay, these are the absolute like key metrics to look at, versus, oh, I can just get lost in the YouTube studio and spend hours on it?
Yeah, I think like, I mean, sometimes I like here and there dive in. There's nothing like particularly that like I'll follow, or again, I should probably be better at doing that. I think in the past I was more stuck to that than I am now. Because I think like I've definitely reached this point that I'm just like trying to like I said, figuring out what exactly it is that I want to be putting out. So because of that, I've kind of stepped away a little from like diving too deep into the analytics. Before, I would say that like I paid a lot of attention to like the male to female, because I wanted to make sure that I was like, I think like, again, tech being so like male dominated, just like making sure there's like more even number. I know it's always been like harder to achieve that, but not that really like affects anything too much. I think, yeah, that's always like one. And also like obviously it's important to like pay attention to like view count the past 30 days, like see if you're hitting like your goal every month or whatever. But I kind of like also stepped away a little bit from diving too much or paying too much attention to it.
That's, again, probably healthier.
It's healthier, but it's like, I'm not sure if it's like as effective to do so, but
yeah,
that's what I've been doing.
That's a fair point. It's a balance.
Exactly.
But going back to your male versus female ratio, I guess that's something that you need to keep in mind when, so I guess you have like almost a persona that you are making your videos for, right? I guess it's or whoever it is, and therefore those things are important. It's not like, hey, this isn't for everybody. This is for everybody, but I am talking to this kind of person. Have you thought a lot about who the person is that you are talking to? That was a very badly worded question, but like when we talk about niche, we're like, talk to that one person and the others will kind of follow almost, or they'll like it, but you are specifically talking to that one person. How much like have you given thought into that?
Probably like I should probably more than I do. I like kind of just like whatever I think about, like, okay, like I just want everybody to enjoy it, you know, but obviously that's harder to do because not everybody's like into like watching like phone videos and all that, so it's harder. But I do like making sure like, okay, like this is a like appeal to more than one person. Like I do want to like have a broader scope, and again, that's harder because also like I feel like niche, like having a niche like subject works really well on YouTube if you like stick to it, like you have that audience with you. But then it's that scary thing of like, oh, like will anybody else see the videos? But yeah,
niche is definitely something I struggle with, and I haven't quite nailed my persona yet, but we'll get there, right?
No,
this is making me feel better.
You got it down.
Thank you. I want to ask this to more people, so you might be the first one I asked this to. If you weren't a YouTuber, what would you do?
That's a hard question. I don't know. I feel like before YouTube, I was attending art school, so like just art school, but it was graphic design, so it's still like in the digital space. I think I would probably be still into that. I kind of like to dive into that sometimes, just like as far as like I ever had a lot of fun like with logo design in the past and all that, so maybe I would still be in the digital space for sure, or some type of like creative space. Way back, like I always, like when I was younger, I was like, I want to be a news reporter, and I don't think I would ever want to do that now. But I guess it kind of makes sense, just like, you know, like being on camera and stuff, but definitely not. That has changed for sure. No, I would definitely be like in the digital like designing space.
When I was younger, I wanted to be a footballer, and clearly that's never going to happen. So
that's awesome,
we have to let go.
You never know. We gotta live up to our dreams.
Well, yeah. Except I can't run more than like 50 meters without getting like ridiculously out of breath. But it's all good. You mentioned the whole Android thing earlier. Obviously, you dip into both. Do you have a preference, Android, Apple? Hot debate.
That's $1 million question.
Yeah,
I
right?
feel like that's always, yeah. I have such like it's not like I love it, but just like the whole like community of that. Like there's always been such like a rival, like like really big like Android fanboys, Apple fanboys. Like what's the term? Like Apple sheep, like all that. I'm just like, please, like
that's me.
people make it like take it so seriously in those comments sometimes, but I definitely appreciate both. I use like an iPhone day to day. Like that's just like I think that's like, I feel like everybody probably like, oh, like I've just seen that way too many times. Like, why do you use an iPhone? I see that less now because I feel like I've kind of like the audience has like shifted a little bit. But in the beginning, it was just like, if you spoke of iPhone, it was like a death note, like don't speak of that. But no, I appreciate both. I think like I love carrying like the Galaxy, my Galaxy S21 Ultra, I've been enjoying pictures on that a lot. So like definitely an iPhone user and into the whole Apple world, but yeah.
It's all good. we're an Apple fanboy over here, so you can't say it.
You're on the right side now.
Yes.
No, but that's the thing. Like, it's always been hard. Like, I feel like in tech, like it's never been like people just don't just appreciate both. I think more so now, but back then it was just like you always had to like choose one side, or like you couldn't like love everything. Whereas like in being in tech, that's just part of it, you know, like just like appreciating it all.
It is wonderful, whichever one you pick, right? It's just amazing what tech is these days. So yes, I agree. Let's just appreciate what is out there.
That like brings me to another point, which is like why that like reminded me of why like camera comparisons have been harder for me, because it's like all these like phones take really good pictures now. I think there was more of a difference back in the day where like you can tell like, oh, an iPhone is like it's too like it doesn't give you as much like quality as like those like portrait pictures on the Google Pixel phones. So it's just like always it's like one or the other, like you could tell distinctively. But now I feel like there's like such like a fine line where you could probably still tell the differences here and there with like processing, but overall like they all do a really good job. So it's been harder for me to like fully enjoy those videos. But
okay, B-roll. We touched on it earlier, but as someone who like the thought of filming B-roll is just way more friction. Like it's, I've got to film a video and I've got to film B-roll is bonkers. But like, again, you have great B-roll. How did you approach it? Is it something you enjoy doing? And are you a fan of this whole B-roll library thing, or do you create B-roll for every video?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I know a lot of like my B-roll always like, I need a second hand because it's like a lot of shots like of me, and so it makes the video like process again like longer to to create. But I do enjoy it. Like it's stuff like again that like makes me happy in videos, and like it's like what I like to like put out. But it again, I don't think it's like a necessary thing, and I've been more and more like stepping away where it's like in parts that like I need B-roll in a video, like just like pick up my phone and just like shoot whatever I'm like talking about, and it's like making it more like I guess relatable and more of the whole like lifestyle realm of things, and just a little bit more easygoing and like laid back. So for me it's like necessary just because like I enjoy it, but it's not super necessary to make a great video, I guess. If that makes sense.
Music to my ears. If you were doing YouTube over again, what would you do differently?
I would not put out the videos that I put out back then. I'm like scarred with like I just have a very like fresh mind of like or memory of like these videos because I was just looking at them last night. So it's like I can't believe it, honestly. But no, I think I would start out with just like more of like me, because like a lot of that I know it's like one of those like we said, it's a balance of like people not really caring about like your personality in the beginning. But I guess I would put more of my like, I gotta like show you one of these videos. It was just so like robotic for me in the beginning. So
I want to see it really bad.
It was just, yeah, I definitely wasn't like fully happy with like what I was like putting out in the start. But just like putting more of like myself into it, I think is really, really important. Even if you're starting out, just like there's always has to be like that thing that like separates you from the rest. Because like, especially in tech, there's just so much of the same now. Just more of myself for sure.
Yeah, that is a good point. But I suppose if you do look back on your videos and go, what the hell were they doing? That just shows how much progress you've made over the years, right? To go, hang on, what? but look at me now.
It is cool to see. Like, I appreciate the start. Like, there's a lot of things like I would, like it's almost like this thing like I wouldn't change a thing because I got to like where I am. And I'm not where I'm like want to be for like, don't want to be like, oh, like I made it, because I'm not there yet. But I feel like it's important to like take those steps. Maybe I wouldn't change anything, but yeah, I'm glad with what I learned over the years. I'm glad at taking the steps that I did. So it was all necessary, all part of it.
Awesome. And looking forward to the future. I know you said you've been thinking about it a lot, and I guess there are things probably up in the air, but do you have some idea of where you want to take the channel or what you want it to become, or is that still very much a work in progress?
Definitely, like I do have a couple ideas. There's some things I'm working on, and as far as like I think I'm going to start branching out to maybe like a second channel. I know some people like are so against that, like I'll just keep it all in one. But I think there's an importance where like there's other things I want to work on as well that don't necessarily like go along with like the tech channel that I have. So I will always do that, but I think branching out for those specific projects that I want to work on is important there. So got some things in mind. I'm excited, but still working on it. It's all a work in progress for sure.
Yeah, no, I think there has been a trend though, actually, of bigger YouTubers like yourself branching out into a second channel because, and I think it was Thomas Frank on one of these Clubhouse conversations that was talking about this, but they've almost like niched themselves into this corner, and they're like, hey, we're not just this one thing. There's like a bunch of other stuff that we love, but YouTube algorithm and stuff, like it doesn't make sense to put it all on that channel. So actually, I think a second channel, when you've got A, that audience already and that platform, and B, you've got all the learnings that you have. It's not like starting with 2 channels and going, oh, I'm going to grow 2 channels. It's actually, I built the platform, I know my workflow, I know how I work, I know what I want, and you know something, I have nailed it. Let me bring in something else that I want to bring in on a second channel. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, you're making me excited again. I'm like, I was excited, but I'm even more excited now.
Okay, my last question is, what advice would you have to somebody who was thinking about starting YouTube now in 2021, whether it's tech or just in general?
I know it's like cheesy, like I always say this, like just like be yourself, but it's really important to like take, like it's okay to have like inspiration and like, you know, be inspired by other whatever bigger channels that you look up to, but definitely stick to your gut, stick to your beliefs, stick to what you really love to do, and like make sure it's like stick to like one thing, because when you start branching out too much in the beginning, it kind of all like gets lost, which is like what we just said, like why it's important to like sometimes have a separate channel. But yeah, just like be yourself in the beginning. Don't like stray away too much from what you want to do, I guess.
That is great advice, and it goes back to everything you've kind of said this and throughout this, because yeah, that's one of the things I loved. It's not hey, you need to like look at the numbers. It's actually do what you want to do. Yes, they are important if you want to grow, but actually you need to be happy. You need to put out content that you want to do. You need to be of good mental health as well while you're doing it and not kill yourself. And it is just important that you do you, right? And I love that. I think that's a great message to give out. So thank you.
Well, so much positivity in the air.
Yes.